Good morning, guys. Can everyone hear me okay? Video good? Okay, great. Thanks. So let's take a look at the trade plan. I'll kind of go through the executive summary of what I'm looking to happen, and then we'll go from there. First warning or caveat of the day, right? It's options expiration Friday. In the first hour, the volume will be very high, and we can get a lot of really fast whips. Okay, so it can be frustrating. The zones should be respected, but because of the volume size, right, it can overstep them a little bit one way or the other, and that can become difficult to trade. Right, the speed increases. If you look at yesterday at the close, you'll see a little bit of that started up right here. Excuse me, right in this area. Right here, you'll just see we were doing fine, and then we just got a sell program after the close, right? That drove us straight down. So what I wanted to do, right, yesterday, if we look, we went into balance, right, and we had three options that we were looking at. And I want to see where we're trading here real quick. So currently, with still half an hour to go, we're trading at. Let's pull this in just a little bit so we can compare it to yesterday. The zones are adjusted, but you'll notice the zones outside of the area we traded in are pretty close. I had to adjust this zone and this zone to accommodate the Globex lows. So let's see here. Let's pull it in a little bit. Okay, so we are currently trading 37.50, which puts us just above gap fill. So we know we won't have a big rotation if we open here, right? And this area, obviously, is going to become critical to the day. The Globex low, all of this in here. I would assume under normal circumstances, right? Again, barring options expiration, I would assume we're going to find responsive buyers in here and push up to test the Globex highs, right? So instead of gap fill, which will be very quickly, right? If we drop below Globex lows, and we are unable to fill gap fill, that would be a clue for us. Just like yesterday, we were unable to get above, uh, we were unable to accomplish gap fill on ES, and we stayed in balance almost the entire day. The pattern that I would look for, right, assuming that we can come in and test Globex highs, the real test will come up at Wednesday's highs and the prior old highs, right? This right now is pretty close to a double top, and I'll show that over on the volume profile chart in a minute. I would expect rejection first time into the white zone. We would have a really nice rotation up there from where we're trading right now, and I would expect to be able to garner our 2 points, right? And you got to remember, in my trading style, what I'm primarily looking for is 2 point target, right? And then if your trading plan calls for it and you're trading enough size, leave a trailer. But make sure you've decided prior to it getting there, right? And then also make sure you've decided what your trade plan is with regards to your stop. Are you going to move it to net break even, or are you going to move it to your entry point break even? You should have that decided prior to your first scale and really prior to the market open so that you can execute with as little thinking as possible, right? So even though we'll have a rotation up into Thursday's highs, right? From assuming we get 37, right? 37 to 42 would give us our 6 points. I will also be looking to the back of this zone. But don't be surprised if it breaks this zone and jumps right up to the white zone. I just wouldn't be surprised to see it with the options expiration. I'd actually would like to see some tick divergence here before taking the trade here. I don't need anything in the white zone. I'm happy to take it. If I get stopped, so be it. But I'll show you in a minute. Tops tend to be respected and tend to find responsive buyers the first time in, unless we open in the white zone itself or at that double top or triple top, whatever it may be. And we're clearly not doing that this morning. So I will take a short in the white zone, probably as soon as we get there, assuming there's no consolidation in front of the zone. So a nice rotation. I don't want it to sit in front of the zone for an extended period of time. and then bust in. If it does that, I'll relocate the trade location to the back of the zone. On the downside, right, if we open and we immediately get below Globex lows, I'll want a nice stretch. So assuming we open the 37 area, again, the back of this zone right here will be the first place I'm looking for trade location. And I would look for that trade location to come back up and give us a test of Globex lows. Again, that would garner our 2 points. The reason why the 6 points rotation, why I keep mentioning that, is that gets us stretched outside of our average ES rotation, right? And it gives us a better chance of garnering that 2 points. It's already anywhere in the zone itself is already a high odds location. Again, I'm just simply trying to improve those odds for myself. Let's continue with that. So this will become a key area if we get in. If we can recover above Globex lows, right, I would expect us to push to the other end of the zone, at least to Globex highs. That would give us a nice stretch at Globex highs. I would look at a short there with tick divergence. And certainly if we push up into, again, the white zone, I will not take second and third pushes into the white zone unless accompanied by very nice looking tick divergence, meaning it needs to be extremely obvious for me. Otherwise, I'm going to pass on it, right? The other options are, right, if we get in here, I'll try to drop the rightness that I keep repeating. If we come in, we get that rejection and we get this test and we're unable to get back above Globex lows, this would be the second test in order to take a trade in this area, right? It's not part of the trade plan that I normally talk about. The focus is concentrated on that first touch. If you're taking the second touch, I would look for tick divergence. You are in danger of having these zones busted. There's plenty of examples that you can see. At initial support, we should be nice and stretched at that point. I will take a trade at initial support. I'm willing to take it at the front. It depends on how we behave in this zone. If we get something like this where we consolidate for a while, I'll want a nice rotation. Again, 6 points, so 31. It would probably put me in the back of the zone if we consolidate. If we don't consolidate, right, we just rotate through the zone and fall through. I have no problem taking it at the front of the zone and taking a stop. How will I protect myself? 25 minutes tends to be my limit in a zone. If I exceed that 25 minutes, I tend to take the stop out on the trade immediately, or if I'm up on the trade but have not reached my 2-point target, move stops to break even and let it be. It is what it is. So on the upside, on the breakout side, let's take a look at how that might look. And I want to make a quick note. Yesterday, someone asked me to draw some diagrams that they didn't get it. So I put out a video, but basically at every zone, this is what I expect regardless of stretch. I expect it to come into the zone and rebound. From there, it could either rebound here or come back for a second test deeper into the zone. But I expect, regardless of rotation, that it'll give me 2 points either way. I would expect rotation like this the first time in, and then possibly once it gets in here the second time, it depends. It can go this way or this way. This pattern is true for every single zone. The reason why I stretch it out to 6 points is because it dramatically increases the number of winning trades that I have from the 70s up towards the 80s and 90s. So I pass on some trades, but I do that because I'm trading such a concentrated position. And I want to avoid as many losses as possible. But I expect this price action at every zone. Occasionally it'll come into a zone, particularly on open drives, and blow right through them. Or if we see big breaks on news, right, it'll blow right through a zone and you'll need a bigger stretch. But normally this is the action that I expect to see almost every time. And certainly I expect it to give me a pause in that zone prior to continuing up, even on a trend day up or a trend day down. So I hope that clarifies. If today we're unable to break Globex lows, it is possible if they're going to try to pin it between this 40 and 30 that we simply end up with a trading range. This is my last scenario that looks like this. Just like we had yesterday, and the range would either be like this if we balance, or it would look even tighter like this if they just keep it nice and tight. The way that these options expiration dates tend to get out of control is wherever they're trying to pin it. Yesterday, it spent a lot of time at this 38 level, so they may be trying to pin it at this 38 level. If the level gets busted and all the options players were betting that they were going to close it here, and we break above, it will cause a huge short squeeze to the upside. Vice versa, if they break it to the downside, it can cause a very large move. But betting that it's going to bust wherever they're trying to pin it for options expiration is generally a poor bet. You don't see it very often. It's a rare event. You just need to be aware if it occurs, because it could end up, if it does occur, it ends up being one of those situations where there's no rotation whatsoever. It just keeps busting up and busting up continuously as those guys get squeezed, and the end of days tend to be ugly when that does occur. I can't remember the last time that it actually happened, but it's a possibility. Let's go look at NQ as well. It's going to be a similar type of pattern. Uh, One of the keys, by the way, that we're looking for on this in terms of determining are we going higher, the first test has to be we have to get above Globex highs here, right, for higher, and then we must get above the white zone. Rejection out, really the test for having a big update is getting above this white zone and then holding above. Trap trades would be set up if we busted above, got into initial resistance, and then closed back below the white zone, could easily send us to the other side of the trading range. Conversely, if we get down to initial support and then we're able to regain Globex lows due to options expiration, we can have larger volatility. They could easily drive it back up into Globex highs. So it's key when you see these key levels, and for today, it's Globex low, Globex high, and Wednesday's high and the all-time highs, right? If we get above those and they trap back inside after breaking them, look for squeezes in either direction. Let's go to NQ. Okay, if we look at NQ, same situation as yesterday and very similar here. This is an all-time, this is a very big high, decade high in the NQ. I may have put that on the ES chart and may be mistaken. I need to go back and correct that if I did. It is a decade high on NQ. Getting above here, I don't think there's very many shorts left in NQ, but I think money managers are cognizant. We saw it whip. This was the prior, I believe. This 3600 became key, and we got above that 3600 the other day. You'll recall we kept trading above and trying to trap below. You'll see the similar situation yesterday, trading above, trap below. If we get above this level, I would assume that everyone that's short at this level, I doubt there's very many, but also essentially cash shorts and money managers that don't fall behind will come in and give a quick push up to this zone. If we got a good rotation, I need at least a 10-point rotation on ES before I consider taking a contra trade in it, and preferably 15 to 30 points, somewhere in that range. So you can do the math based on where the swing lows are intraday. If we get above the white zone and also the Globex highs, where would I look for a trap trade if we got above and we came back in? I would expect us to trade to the other end of the range, which is currently the Globex lows. That's 35.91 and 3/4. I would not be surprised if we get above white zone to have a midday balance. And then if we break wherever they're trying to pin it, and I don't know where that is on NQ, there's plenty of option guys that are very good at this and probably will be publishing some more on Twitter. I have no idea where the pin is. I'll try to find it. If they bust the pin, again, you can have a very dramatic move on a options expiration. I will show you that in just a moment. Same story with the downside. If they bust the pin on the downside, I would look for a move. Again, we spent a lot of time right in here yesterday, this 3600 level. So this may be the pin. If we break below, you can see a dramatic move to the downside. More likely, but is that they will try to be responsive buyers lower to push back up. And I expect the same rotations. NQ is a little bit harder than ES on these zones. I'm not really looking at this zone if we trade below. It is possible. I'm going to show you what we could look like. it's just such a small rotation. It is possible that we get this for a backside test, and then it would be critical that we hold above. If we hold above, we'll come back up and test the white zone. This would be a good rotation in the white zone. I might try a short here depending on price action. Again, NQ is harder than ES. It doesn't have the same institutional participation. If we fail to get above Globex lows, I could bring a rotation down to this open gap where I would expect responsive buyers the first time in. If I don't get responsive buyers at that open gap, it would be a change of game plan, and we could easily drive lower for the day. It would be surprising to get this given the current market environment, but I'm open to the idea. And the same concept, getting above the white zone, could easily push us in here. And if we start trending on NQ, NQ has a tendency not to rotate nearly as much as ES on trend days. We can easily get a situation where we do this and push up again. So I'm cautious on shorts above the white zone. I really want to see a massive explosion up and then a pause in the price action. I have no way of explaining that other than that during the trading. Excuse me just 1 second here. Okay, so those are my scenarios. I want to go back quickly and look like I did yesterday. Y'all can drop off now. I will be watching NQ for leadership today, but I want to show you the area I'm concerned about in the first hour. And so I pulled up a couple of charts from a couple of examples from last year so that we have an idea, right, a framework, particularly in the first hour. So this goes back to August here. And if we look, the range on these bars, these are 5-minute bars, 1840 to 1843. Some of these are from 1846 back down to 1843, but they are very whippy, right? Look at this. Look at this bar all the way down, all the way back up. Excuse me, that's not a very good draw, so I'll help you. This right here is what I'm talking about. All the way down, all the way up. And then also these whips going to the last hour. Again, look at the last 15 minutes after the close here. You can see we had relatively decent movement after the close, and it can actually be lower. This closing drive in the last, this looks like approximately the last 10 minutes of regular market session. And then the last 15 minutes, we drove from 1645 down to 1638. This type of price action on the close right here can also go the opposite direction. So that's a 7-point drive. And then coming into the last hour, right, we got responsive buyers. This was probably a big support zone with tick divergence. And we got that nice rotation up. You cannot rely that these moves will give you will hold. You have to use your stops, you have to adjust, and you have to use scales. This can rotate right back down on you very quickly on option expiration Friday. And as I said, we will get most likely a lot of whips. I'm going to go look at 2 more days. And then I'll jump over to the volume profile. We're 10 minutes till, so I'm still all right. Let's look at December. Again, December was interesting. We get a balanced day, much like we had. Look, we had a big up day right here on Wednesday, balanced day on Thursday as people square positions prior to non-farm payrolls. And then we had what essentially amounted to a small trend day up. This was a total of approximately 1803 to 1818. I guess that's a 15-point day. That's an average day. It gave us a trend day up. If you look, we started this day with an open drive, so it's something to look for. 3 green bars. We know if we get 3 green bars right out of the gate, the first bar is the low of the day. I know when I look at this that I have a strong possibility of trend day up, and I am looking for a 0 tick entry, which I've discussed with most of my coaching clients at this point. I will call it out if I see it this morning. It's the only trade that I'll take that is not on a big rotation down and does not have it is not trading back down into a zone. Usually a 2-point stop keeps me safe. I use a 3-point stop just to be on the safe side. This is a very high odds trade. I have very few failures on this. It can occur, as always, Again, this isn't a trading recommendation. This is simply to educate the traders out there so that you can make your own trading decisions. And if you'll notice, we simply drove up all day. It doesn't look like the pin was broken, but they can pin it higher, right? They were trying, obviously, some people thought we were going to get a pin right here, just above 1800, between 1805 and 1800. They were unable to do so. And then November. Now, this is another example of what can happen in the first hour. Let's expand this out. We didn't have a balanced day prior, so it was a little bit different. We actually had trend day up and a prior trend day up, and this ended up looking like a trend day up. However, if you look at this first hour here, all right, let's expand this out. Okay, so we had a couple of clues here. First of all, we had no open drive out of the open. As you can see, it was just whippy. But look at the size of these whips in here. Okay, so this is Chop City in the first hour. Traders who try to trade with a tight stop in this area without decent rotations got the hell beat out of them as they tried to figure out whether we were going to run up or we were going to run down. If you waited outside of the first hour, again, there was no clear indication of trend day up. You got a beautiful rotation here. We know there was probably a zone right here. This was the high. So the zone would have looked like this. Somewhere like this. There was probably tick divergence in here, hopefully on a 1 minute chart as we push down. It would give you location. If not, possibly there was tick divergence here. This is the third move in. This would have given you the rotation for your 2 points that you're looking for. And if you left a trailer at your entry, you may have survived. Or if you left a net break-even trailer on this trade, what that means is, let's say you entered here, you garnered your 2 points, so you moved your stop from, if you entered here, your stop would have originally been 2 points behind the zone. You adjust it, so net, your total stop is 2 points. You would have survived the second dip into the zone, and you would have caught the move up at the end of the day. Again, if you look at the last 5 to 15 minutes, right, 5 minutes left in the market on the close, and then the last 15 minutes. This is nasty here in the last 15 minutes. If you trade after the close, expect to get whipped. If you're not on the right side of the thing, you could really get your butt kicked in these last minutes. This is basically 90 to 87. Not huge, but who wants to take a 3 or 4 point stop if they're in the wrong direction? Again, this thing's going straight up. There's really no reason, unless you're totally guessing that we're going to roll back down on the close, to take any trade in this area. I just simply wouldn't do it. It's not in my trade plan. In the meantime, right prior to the open, we're trying to bounce a little bit off the lows. I'm going to look to see whether we hold these Globex lows out of the gate, and I'm going to be cautious. Unless I see an open drive up or down, I probably have my hands in my pocket for the first hour. I'm going to have breakfast and enjoy a cup of coffee. Let's look at the volume profile real quick. So volume profile is pretty clear on both on the daily and the 24-hour. So clearly, we're right at the top of a zone. I had this conversation with someone yesterday. If you look at the top, this is a prior, what it looked like at the top of this zone. You'll notice that on every day where we did not open right at the top of this zone, 1, 2, 3, okay, we traded up to it, but we stopped and or rejected out of this zone, including the 4th time. 1, 2, 3, 4, stopped or rejected. When we busted out of the zone was when we opened in it and they immediately drove out of it. I can give you a few more examples of that. That is why I'm willing to take a trade the first time in if I get busted. This paid me 4 times in a row. I'm willing to take 1 loss up here if that occurs, right? If we look, this was the old high as well, right in here, in this area. And if you look, The one time we busted out of that zone, we actually opened in the zone itself, right? One time we opened and rejected out. They tried to push up, but every other time we opened in. This is the one time we opened in and then failed out, but there had been a new high established at this point. This was a double top. This ended up being a double top for us, right? So what I'm trying to point to is that all of these provided great location to the short side, and I will attempt to leave a trailer out of this area if I can get in after my first 2-point rotation and see if I can't get a move to the downside. We'll see. There's no promises in that area, obviously. Looking at the 24-hour, on ES, 24-hour, clearly it's a pretty easy picture. We have what essentially is an inside day here and a balanced day. So slightly lower low, slightly lower high. You could say it's forming a wedge there and that we could push out either way. Just remember you have resistance sitting right above. If we push out this way, we got to clear this resistance, and it's not necessarily an easy thing to do. They're going to try and pin this somewhere. They will fight to save their pin, right? Those traders have a lot of money betting that we can pin. Wherever they're trying to pin it, they're going to work very hard to keep it there. They don't like getting their pins busted. Let's see if there's anything else that's important here. First major area, 1820 to 1818 is our first major area of support. This is a lot of poorly auctioned area. Excuse me. This right here, just above 1830, is our first major area of support. This is poorly auctioned. Poorly auctioned areas either get immediately rejected out of, or we fall through them very quickly. I will definitely, if for some reason we get a push down to this area, I will be a responsive buyer in here the first time through. More than happy to take a loss if I'm wrong. I will leave trailers to attempt to push back the other way towards the 1830 mark. Let's see if there's anything else that I haven't covered. Oh, NQ, excuse me. Quick look at NQ before the open. This is the 24. This is the 24-hour on NQ. Clearly, we had a balance. We are at the top of a range that's pretty easy to see here. This was the high closed. We have an area of support right above it, which makes perfect sense. That 3580 will be important. It wouldn't be surprising if we push down to see a push down to 3580 and then see responsive buyers if we get back above, push to the other end of the range. We're in a bull market, guys. Pushes back up are totally normal. Fast corrections are extremely common, followed by big fast pushes back up like we just experienced a couple of days ago. So if we look on the daily, we'll have a similar picture. Excuse me. You can see this was the top of range. We have an open gap sitting right here. I would expect to see responsive buyers in here if we push, and I would expect to see a short squeeze, at least a cash short squeeze out. Again, I don't think there's any shorts in NQ. I would expect to see a cash squeeze or an attempt to push if we get out up towards this area up here, and with possible continuation all day. I wouldn't expect more than 60 points. 60 points would roughly put us at 35.92, would roughly put us here at 36.60 for an extended target, 36.40 for a less extended target. I'll probably look to see price action, see if I can't get situated in a short up here, or at least I'll start scaling out at 36.40 and may not necessarily be in such a big rush to short unless I see the price action supporting it. Other than that, we're open. I'll take a few quick questions if anyone has one, because I'm not planning to trade the first hour. But other than that, I think I've covered all the bases. I'll give it a minute, and if I don't. Yeah, tick doesn't matter if we're not going to have a big gap up or gap down, Daniel. We're not going to see any kind of tick extreme. We're up $1.75 on ES. We're down $1.75 on NQ. Nothing's going to happen there. You bet, Andy. You're welcome. Danny, you got to get the open drive first, buddy. We'll talk about that later. Okay, my pleasure, guys. If y'all liked it and you send out a little Twitter love, other than that, have a great day. And I will look to be active after the first hour, assuming that there's no open drive.